Good morning. It's morning. It's morning. My favorite part of the day. Anybody who knows me knows how much I love early mornings. Welcome, 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 my beautiful friends. I hope you are well. Do say hello to me in the chat. Tell me where you are in the world. So, it is that time of the week, time for a Debbie chat. So, whether you are folding laundry, trying to get kids settled for the night, or really feeling like you're not your best right now, you're in the right place here with me. This space is for you in the difficult moments, in the devastating moments, in the frozen moments where you think, I can't do this. You're welcome here at my table. I know you're really busy. I know you are really, really busy juggling a million things, aren't we all at the moment? But just for 10 seconds, we're going to pause a little bit and we're just going to focus on you. Let's do a little check in as we want to do every time we meet. Take a couple of deep breaths in and out, and in and out. And just check in with yourself 0 to 10. How are you doing today? 0, not that great. Things a bit tricky, struggling a little bit. 10, good as gold. Life is treating you wonderfully well. Let me know in the comments how you are traveling. Maybe you're somewhere in between. What we've found out on these live chats is that we vacillate between numbers, sometimes within 1 hour, sometimes within a whole day. Depends on what's going on in our lives. So today, where am I sitting? That's a tricky one actually today. I'm not sure where I'm sitting today. Feeling a bit tired. I've been having trouble sleeping, but I don't know what my number is today. I'm a bit too tired to work it out. Do let me know where you are in the world if you would like to. Nice to see some numbers. So morning, Sarah, you're at a 2. That's lovely to hear, darling. Hope you are feeling better after your procedure and feeling a bit more comfy. Morning, Mary. Lovely to see you, my darling. A 5. 5 is good. We don't mind that. Anything over 5 is definitely worth celebrating. And Christine, nice to see you, sweetheart, at 5. When I do these lives, what I'm here for is to answer your questions, and I reflect a bit on my week so that we can all kind of see where we're sitting at, and hopefully, we can pull something together to help us keep pushing through. Sarah, feeling good, just stressed and taking care of your mum. Well, you've got to take care of yourself too, especially when you're recovering. I think this week, when I reflect back on it, has been, it's been a mixed bag. The world has felt like it's been too much, and the chaos feels fairly consistent. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how to stay grounded when life feels a bit chaotic. And, all of us have been through something. So, currently there is so much going on globally. The world feels fairly heavy to me right now. There are wars. There's a lot of grief, tons of uncertainty. As we know, human beings do not enjoy that particularly. On top of, holidays creeping in, we've got Halloween around the corner, Thanksgiving is coming, Christmas. Some of you love that, Miss Kathy's favourite time of the year. Not so much Debbie's, it gets a bit hot over here for me for Christmas time. But it's that time of year when there's a lot of pressure on women particularly, to have these wonderful, wonderful times. And we might have a partner who has gone, a partner who's left. We might have our first Christmas in a very different kind of way. We might be single for the first time. Maybe we found out our partner was having an affair and we are trying to now manage that distressing situation. Maybe we've been single for a little while and we are thinking about these really special holidays and feeling particularly lonely. So whatever's going on for you right now, let's have a little poke through it all and see if I can come up with some suggestions for you to manage it. And as I said, if you want to ask me a question, you're welcome to. If you want to just sit and listen, that's perfectly fine too. You don't have to ask anything. But let's run through some of the stuff that's going on. I've been feeling really emotionally tired, a bit flat, and really feeling like I needed space. The world has felt very heavy for me right now. I have clients around the world. There is a lot going on in every single continent on the globe, it appears. And so I felt this heaviness. Worried about women who I know, women who I care about, women who I love. And, on top of the things like a partner leaving, a relationship ending, going through a divorce, financial separation, estranged adult children who don't want to talk to them anymore, financial pressure, like people are really, really struggling. So, yep, I felt a bit emotionally flat and a bit exhausted from it all. And if you have, I hear you and I see you, it is a challenging, challenging time. But as you know, on these lives, being here is about helping you move through this stuff. How do you get through these challenging times, which we have no control over, right? So we have to find a way through them. Um, I want to talk about how to really look after some of that emotional energy and protect yourself from some of the emotional drain. How to ground yourself when everything feels out of control, because we can't control a lot of things. So being able to find a way to ground ourselves and get our feet firmly on the ground can be incredibly helpful. How to find tiny little moments of peace when your heart's aching. And yesterday I was talking to my members, it was yesterday or the day before, I can't remember, but I was talking to my members about, I can feel this sense of next year being about being really in my present moment, but anchored in it, having my feet firmly on the floor rather than feel like I'm just tethered and kind of floaty. So next year for me really feels about finding those very small moments of peace in chaoticness, that feel really delicious and really enjoyable and useful and purposeful and enriching. And so I want to talk more about how you manage to get to that place, even when things are crazy going. Um, I'm not, and anybody who knows me knows that I'm not about toxic positivity. I'm not about rah, 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 we're all good, we're all energetic, we're all, living our best lives, and we've just got to pretend like everything is fine. I don't think that is helpful either. I think, we need to be where we are, and we need to be very much dealing with where we are. But we also have to notice those little micro things that are good things, because there's always good things. The sky is so grey here today, and I'm so excited. I'm hoping we'll get rain, because we haven't had rain for, it would be 2 months, I think, which is a long spell when you have a hot country. And my hope is that it rains and my garden gets a really good soaking. So, in the difficult times, we can still look at what are some of the good things. And there's always positive things. There's always little micro diamonds in all of the shit, in my experience. So it's important to go looking for that stuff. And when it appears, to notice it and harness it and love it, because it might just be fleeting, and it might, you might be going through difficult things, but those small things can really make an enormous difference. So, my darlings, let's have a think about, if you felt a bit slower, how are you feeling? Is it sluggish? Are you a tortoise or a hare right now? Does life feel like it's going at a slower pace, or are you flying through life? Every single time I do a membership call, I start with, can you believe? Because I just can't believe it's October the 23rd already. Like, wow, where has this year gone? Are you more tired? Of course, in midlife, we have things like hormonal shifts. We might struggle with our sleeping, our diet might be off, our exercise might be off. So we might be feeling a bit more sluggish. Please know that that is also part of those transitions that we go through in life, the transitions around health and well-being, changing from, this fertile woman to a woman who is going through that stage into a very different stage. Personally, I love this stage. Now I'm through the worst of it. When the world is feeling on fire, like it has done for me at least, I don't know about you, but I look at the news and I find it leaves me heavy and sad, but I feel it's also an obligation to be a witness to what is happening in measured doses, because it hits the collective pain really hard when we are looking at some of this stuff. And our systems are very tender, from our own heartbreak and sadness. So the global pain can feel like it's very compounding. So we've got to protect ourselves in difficult times. For me, the last couple of weeks have been a blessing, a slower pace. After some, my child having some significant health issues, my partner having some difficult health issues, having a very challenging year on many, many different levels. And I'm craving calmness. I'm craving slow down. I'm craving the noise getting quite quiet. My system really feels like it needs that right now. And I think that that is something that women find challenging. There are kids to take care of, there may be a job to do, maybe you have to deal with a court or finances or lawyers or all of those other additional things because of things that have happened in life. And so it can feel like we have nothing left in the tank. And many women, and it's glorified in our culture to push through, do everything, be everything. Well, that's not good for us, for our systems. The cortisol, the stress hormone goes up through the friggin' roof. Our adrenals are shot to pieces, and we are just living on just the sniff of oil because our systems are exhausted and absolutely depleted. So reflection and slowdown are essential. They are like drinking water, brushing your teeth, having a shower, having a cup of tea. They are vital things to slow the pace down and take some time. Take some time. Listen to what I said. Take it. And for women, that is often a really big challenge. Just for a second, think about, what have you noticed? Are you more tired? Do you feel more tense? Do you feel quite restless? Do you feel you're a bit wired? Like, have a think about it. First things, awareness, acceptance, and action, right? We look at awareness. Where am I at right now? And that requires us to slow the pace down a bit and have some time to reflect. I remember talking to a lot of single mums who were juggling everything. And I would say, lock yourself in the bathroom. The only door usually in the house that's lockable. Go to the bathroom and take 5 minutes. Just sit there and do some breathing and stop for a second and just give yourself a moment to go, where am I at right now? Where am I at in this chaotic, crazy moment? 0 to 10 is so helpful because we have a measure, a 0 being, I have nothing left. I am on empty. 10 being, it's been a good day. I can cope. Things are going well. But, when there's a lot of chaos and crazy and the hits keep coming, some of you have had this year, where it's just one thing after another thing after another thing, and you can't catch your breath. The chaos can start to make us feel really unsafe. We compensate for that. I was talking to a long-term client of mine yesterday, and he was talking to me about how it's really hard now that the dust has settled and his separation is finalized, and how hard it is now for him to feel safe and okay, and that he is quick to move to emotions that are very fast and very hot because he has had several years of dealing with a lot of stress. So it's important for us to know that when we feel that our lives are chaotic and in crisis, it can be hard to not feel safe. We can feel like we're very unsafe, life is very unpredictable, and we're scared. So it's just important to know that your nervous system is doing what it's supposed to do. Fight, flight, freeze, funny, and yes, for those who don't believe it, fornication. Some people can find comfort in that. So when we go to the F's, when we go to one of our triggered responses to try and help us cope, we need to be able to find the space between here and here. So this is the triggered space, fight, flight, freeze, fawn, funny, and all the other F's. And this is the place where we can think rationally, move through things, work stuff out. So we want to get a space between here and here and switch this back on. Breath is your best friend. Slow down and breathe. In and out, in and out. Tell yourself, I'm safe. It's okay. I'm going to be okay. I've survived everything that's happened to me so far in my life. Remind yourself that it's not personal, because your body doesn't know that. Your body thinks that this crazy, chaotic stuff is super personal. So we want to remind our bodies, it's not personal. It's uncertainty. It's chaotic. I don't know what's happening. That's why it feels so absolutely awful right now. Also remind yourself, it's not drama. It's not dramatic to feel overwhelmed and consumed and triggered. It's not dramatic. But what's important is to remind yourself, this is a human response, and which is one of my favorite words, and I need to find ways for me to be able to manage it, for me to be able to cope with it. I need to find ways to move through this really uncertain, really difficult, really painful time. It's my responsibility to find solutions to this problem. And aren't we lucky, because we have this space where we can learn ways of finding solutions. For those who don't know, on my channel, I have a little store at the top of my channel. In that store, I have a couple of survival guides. They're extremely inexpensive. They're in Australian dollars, so they're very inexpensive, but they have a ton of strategies that help calm your nervous system down. My gorgeous Miss Kathy, she runs on the regular for my membership, self-soothing sessions where you get together and she teaches you how to soothe your system and gives you a little handout that really helps you in those difficult moments. Go, okay, how am I going to cope? Those are things that are our responsibility. So, please understand that that's important stuff, that we are responsible for that. We can't control outside of ourselves, but we can be responsible for what we do. On my channel, you'll also find my, Why Did You Cheat series, which is all about affairs, finding out, and the process to deciding what to do. That's free. It's an extended playlist. It has lots of good information in it. There's also a free guide with that you can download. In my Beyond Betrayal series, also in the playlist on my channel, you will find a series about, when somebody leaves you. And for some of us, that is really distressing in midlife, when we thought that we were set and they vanish. And it is so challenging. In that playlist, there's also a little free guide for you. So those things are great places to start. I'm going to have lots of other playlists on my channel in the coming months. So the channel has a lot of free, helpful information that is based on my 2 decades of doing this work. So, and of course, you can ask me questions. You can come to a live and ask me questions. It is really helpful for me if you hit the subscribe button and you hit the bell notification. It tells you when my videos come out. It also tells you when the lives are happening. I put out 2 longer videos each week, and lots of short videos every single day. So you're more than welcome to grab those. And on Sunday, I speak from my own heart using the poetry that I write. I do videos of the poetry that I write about all the things that come up in life, in my life mostly. And I talk about lots of things, from my frustration with technology to heart-rendering things like, having a child who has a life-threatening illness, to struggling with love, and all the things in between. So please do go ahead and have a look at that. So let's have now a little bit of time to think about, what are the automatic things that you come to? Like I said, we get triggered into these responses. So a trigger is like a light switch. It kind of clicks on when something has activated it, when something has happened. And then we want to do something to relieve that. Oftentimes we have a little pet go-to, and it might be that we eat a little bit more, or we drink a little bit more, or we start scrolling on our phones, or we withdraw, or we overfunction. Again, awareness, acceptance, and action. Become aware of your go-to. When we know what we do, when we know how we tend to manage things, I am a fight and flight person. So I am aware of that. And what I try and do is accept that, not give myself a hard time of it. Tell myself this is a learned thing that I learned as a little person, that fight and flight were the way to go. As a traumatized child, those were my options. And today I can choose something else. And so I choose something else. Like I was saying before, there is external pressures globally at the moment, but there's also this other thing, this emotional pressure about holidays. And I don't know about you, and I'd love to know in the comments, do you love holidays? Do you dread holidays? Did you used to love them and now you can't stand them? For some of you, this is the first holidays alone. This might be a holiday where your adult children are saying, I'm seeing dad this year, or I'm choosing to be with my friends. You two are too fighting too much. I can't deal with it. It might be that you've relocated. I know some of you have, and maybe you don't have friends in that area. So holidays can be kind of, a lot. So yeah, you're not a fan of holidays other than Halloween. And I think for some people, holidays can have that really double edge where they used to be really happy memories and now they're not. And we're heading into like this really big festive time. In Australia, we don't have Halloween and we don't have Thanksgiving. We only have Christmas. So for my part of the planet, we only have one holiday coming up. But Kathy's already flying the flag for Christmas, strong and hard. She started celebrating in July, I think. But for the rest of you, you have Halloween, you have Thanksgiving and Christmas coming up. That's a lot of holidays crammed into a very short period of time. And so these are supposed to be joyful, but for many, they can be a very lonely season, a very difficult season. And you're saying, I've taken myself away for a few days and I didn't feel I was coping, felt overwhelmed, and I'm feeling it's really helping. Yeah, just stepping back from sometimes can be such a helpful thing to do. It really, really can. You know, speaking to women who face their first holiday without a partner, or fractured families, I know that they dread it. In my membership, what we do is we open up our Zoom room and people have social time together. We do that over Christmas, we do it over New Year for really extended periods of time, so that isolation isn't added to a lot of other things. Where women from around the world get together and talk to each other and support each other during really, really hard times. I think, and for me in the last 3 years, scaling things down can be such a good idea. I've raised a big family. I have 4 kids. We had Christmas every year. It was really full on. And when I moved away from where I raised the kids, I decided that, you know what, I'm not going to do it this year. And I haven't done it for 3 years, and I'm really happy. I don't put up my tree. Remembering I live in a really hot climate, so I don't put up the tree. It doesn't feel like Christmas to me. It never really has, because it's 35 degrees outside and boiling hot. And we don't eat traditional foods or anything because it's so hot. But for me, it was permission to go, this is really different. My grown-up kids sometimes are spread between different people. But if my kids do come for Christmas, we have a lovely light lunch, we exchange presents. But that's about it. And I tend to try and get out of Australia over Christmas because it's too hot for me. But scaling things down you can give yourself permission. Remember that a holiday is just a day. It's a Tuesday or a Wednesday or a Saturday or a Sunday. It's just a day. And a lot of people invest in making that day a really big day. Retail people, specifically, who want us to purchase stuff and have big spending on those special days, and who start to wrap around a story around sharing and giving, and how that really, tells you whether you have a good family or a bad family, whether you're a good partner or a bad partner, whether you're a good mother or a bad mother, whether, and so there's an awful lot of story written around that. You don't have to buy into that. You can remind yourself, this is just another day. I do that and I love it, to be honest with you. You can have smaller gatherings with just friends. You can set the table for you and use beautiful cutlery and beautiful crockery and make a special place making just for you, and have whatever you want because nobody else is around. You can choose whatever you want for that special meal if you want to. Make new traditions. Go meet people in your community. Get on some of your social media pages and say, is anybody having an orphans get together? There are so many people in your position locally who would love to spend time with you. Or volunteer. There's so many people, again, who need help on the special holidays to prepare meals and give meals to people who maybe wouldn't be able to get those meals without your help. So there's lots and lots and lots of ways of really still participating and celebrating without feeling like you're all by yourself. So I'd like to know, what part of the coming months are making you feel anxious, and what can you possibly do to make them feel better? If you have questions, pop them into the comments for me. I'm more than happy to answer your questions on these calls. So I want you to think about, hope without denial, really, which is we can want to have better times. We can care about what's happening in the world, and we can protect our peace. We can slow down without falling behind. We can be heartbroken by what's going on in humanity, which I am right now, but still hold place for the beauty that really exists in the present moment where we are. Today I might get rain. Gosh, I'd love that so much. I'd love that so much. We need it so badly. So if you want to ask a question to me, pop it in the comments. If you want to just chat with me, pop those comments in the chat for me. If you're uncomfortable, I won't say your first name if that makes you feel a bit better. These chats, I do believe that the comments are off generally unless people put them on when they watch the replays, so people won't see your name, but I never ever use your surname when I answer your question to protect your privacy. In the future, I do intend to have these Q&As behind closed doors, where people can come behind closed doors and we can have conversations privately, just to make people feel a bit more comfortable, which I think is really important as well. And I encourage you to go and grab those free guides off my YouTube channel. If you can't find them, comment and I will direct you to them. I'll give you the URL directly in the chat. And of course, if you go to the playlist, you will find all the free downloads in there, plus links to my guides, the very inexpensive little survival guides that have a ton of good information about how to survive challenging times. So let me see what's going on. From Thanksgiving, it's easier. Too much family in such a short time. Yeah, it can. Yeah, it can feel like you're doing a lot of time with family. If you are struggling with that, it can feel like a heck of a lot. I'm in Scotland, been walking, swimming, stargazing, but had a wobble. I like that word so much. I had a wobble as this was something we did together. What to do with unexpected emotions hit you in the face? It's such a good question. You know, I think reminding yourself that I love the word wobble because that's exactly what it is, right? When we wobble, we neither go forward or backwards, but we kind of sway a bit. And I think that's important to remember. You're having a psychological sway. Remind yourself that it is to be expected, sweetie. It's to be expected that you're going to wobble because we have history, we have stories, we have moments. You know, maybe you did something special together. Maybe this was a special place. Maybe this was a reminder. Maybe something happened just in that moment. It could have been a memory that came back. It might have been a sensation, a sensory experience that happened that made you go, and you catch your breath. And it's like, wow, in this moment, I really remember that I miss this person. I love this person. This person is important to me, and they're not here with me anymore. And now there's a space that isn't going to just fill up. You know, when we love someone, there should be a gap because that's love. I had one of my members ask me a question this week, which was divine. She's over 70, which I just freaking love. And she said to me, Debbie, she's dating again. She said, Debbie, I'm scared in case I'm going to get hurt again. And I said, that's the risk with love. It is the risk we take. Love is divine and delicious and exquisite. But we risk, you know, falling out of love. We risk relationships ending. That doesn't mean it's not worth it. It is worth it. But when somebody we love to our core is no longer there, there is a gap that is like a cavernous hole in our lives. And the emotions come up. The first thing I'd say to you, sweetheart, the first thing is what you did. You notice the wobble. I'm wobbling. Right now, I'm having a wobble. I'm remembering. That's the awareness, right? This is a wobble. So that's the first thing. This is a reminder. This is a memory that's coming up for me. And when the emotions come, remind yourself, and I do this a lot, hand on heart in those moments. We have a lot of self-compassion and we remind ourselves, oh, yes, this feels so painful because I love them so much. You know, if you love them 10 out of 10, your wobble will be a 10 out of 10 wobble because I love them so much, because the gap is so wide and so big and so cavernous. But then, so we move into acceptance. Of course, this is how I'm going to feel because I love them. The next part is action. How do I soothe myself in this moment? Maybe I sit down and have a cry. Maybe I sit on the floor and I have a bloody good sob and just be in that moment of sadness and just sit with that moment of sadness and go, gosh, this hurts. If you are anything like my experience in Scotland, when the wind is on my face, because I remember Scotland being freaking freezing cold and very windy, and having the wind on my face and stinging me, and let the tears fall, let them fall. Have a nice warm hanky in your hand and wipe them away, and just remind yourself that the sadness will be as big as the love, and you will be okay. But this hurt that you're having is a normal, expected experience. And though it is difficult, it is part of the process. And then we just feel it. Yes, it's hard. In the survival guides that I've got on in the shop, we do talk about how to process some of this emotion. And that's what most women get stuck on is I'm feeling these big feelings, these really big feelings. And it feels really scary. It feels like it's a bit too big. It's a bit overwhelming. And so processing them is important, being able to actually process the emotion. So maybe the way to start beginning that process is first of all allowing. We sit and we cry, we walk and we cry, we allow. If we feel we can't do that, maybe we come home and we hop in the shower and we have a good sob. But we let the sadness out. And once the sadness out, maybe we're right. I miss this and I miss this and I miss, I miss them holding me. I miss the comfort of them. Right now, in my difficult moment, the very person who I would turn to for comfort is the person who is making me feel this sad. And they're not here. And I want someone to comfort me and wrap their arms around me and tell me I'm going to be okay. And I don't have that right now. And write that out, or put it on your phone as a message if you don't write things out and you don't feel comfortable doing that. Writing is very therapeutic. Write down, I love them deeply with my whole heart, and the space is big. We don't unlove quickly. We unlove very, very, very slowly. If we have loved for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, more than 20 years, and some of you have loved for more than 20 years, then our unloving process is going to take time. We can't turn love off like it's a light switch. And you may never stop loving them, but you learn to live without them, and you learn to live without the reciprocation of love from them. It takes time and a lot of self-compassion, a lot of kindness, a lot of gentleness. We've got to be compassionate to ourselves. I hope that's helpful, sweetie. If anybody has any questions, pop them in the comments. I'm more than happy to answer them for you. My light is coming through a bit full on, isn't it? And I've got full. People tell me off when my glasses are full of light. Let me do that and see if it'll help. That helps a bit, doesn't it? It looks a bit weird for me, but it helps with the glare. People talk about the glare on my glasses. For those who wear glasses, we're not aware of the glare. Our eyeballs are at the other side of the lens. We can't see the glare at all. So excuse me if I don't see the glare in my glasses. I try hard to manage it, but I'm sitting in front of a window. I will be getting some coverings for this window to try and filter the light a little better. So yes. What was I going to say? Yeah, so if you have a question, pop it into the comments now. If not, we'll start winding up. But if you have questions, you're more than welcome to pop them in now. I try and come on here every single Thursday, Australian Eastern Daylight Time. So if you would like to come and join me live, hit the notification bell on my channel and you'll be notified when I'm doing these. I generally put them up for people to know what time they're coming on about 2 days before they happen, so you get a little bit of notice, but they're always here for the replay if you want to. And of course you can add your questions after the live is finished. I do try and go through the comments as best I can. Sometimes YouTube hides them from me, and so I have to go try and search for them because I'm new to this, and so I'm learning how the platform works, and it's a bit tricky, but I am learning how the platform works. I'm going to be 60 this year, so it's all a bit new for me, if I'm honest. It's all a little bit new, and I'm trying to learn a lot. I'm learning tons. I surprise myself sometimes at how much human beings have the capacity to learn new things. We certainly have quite the capacity. That was really lovely. I'm glad that was helpful. Can I ask, how can you stop the betrayal thoughts that can go on repeat in your head all the time? You can ask that. You can ask me anything. So to anybody who's here, you can ask me anything. I don't think there's a question that I haven't come across before. I've been doing this a really long time, and I've had lots of questions over the years. And yeah, you can ask me anything. When a thought comes into your head, so sometimes what happens is, morning, sweetie, how are you? Nice to see you. So that's just Megan. Hello, Megan. When we get into this loop, so if you imagine that rumination, that's what it's called, right? When you just get this loop of story that keeps coming around and around and around. If you imagine it's a bit like a movie, right? So if it's a bit like a movie, you're watching this movie on a screen. So this story that's coming up on your screen is the story of betrayal. When somebody you love deeply just betrayed you, and you can see, but try and do that. Try and first of all see it as you standing back and you're watching it on the screen. That helps us take ourselves out of the story. Now we're an observer of the story rather than the character in the story, because when we're a character in the story, it wounds us really deeply. But when we are observing the story, oh, this happened to her in this story, this person betrayed her in this story. That can be a really good way of getting some space between you and it. That's the first thing. The next thing is we need to awareness, acceptance, action. I'm noticing this thought because something bad happened and it wounded me. That's the acceptance part. This did happen and it really hurt enormously. The next part is how do I cope with this? And what I suggest is making your brain stop. So basically, it can be something as simple as going stop, stop, stop. So as soon as you notice your brain is starting the loop, you go stop, stop, stop. And you say that to yourself either out loud or in your brain. And then you take some really good, slow, deep breaths, maybe 4 deep breaths, really big, big, big deep breaths. Hold it for a second, out. Try and keep that breath out really long. When you've done 4 of those, say out loud, I'm having a memory about betrayal. It's really painful, and I would rather think about something else right now. And then come back to the minute. So if you're walking, sweetie, as you were in beautiful Scotland, think about the sky, the weather, the sounds. What can I hear? What can I smell? What can I feel? Is it cold on my skin and my face? Maybe I have gloves on because it's bloody freezing and I can feel the gloves on my hand or the shoes on my feet. And we come back to our bodies. We breathe, we pause, we say stop, stop, stop. So our brain stops. You can change the thought you're having, but you have to get deliberate about it. And then replacing one thought with another. No, I'm not thinking about this right now. In the present moment, gosh, my feet are freezing. I can feel every single toe. Or gosh, my feet are freezing. I can't feel any toes. Gosh, my back is freezing cold. Whenever I go out in the cold weather, my bum gets freezing. Even when I wear long johns and I try and keep it warm, it's because I live in a warm climate, I think. But my back gets so cold when I'm in cold climates, and I love cold climates. And I notice that. I'm like, wow, it's freezing. So noticing is something. And one thing that I do when I get into the warmth is sit on something warm, like a nice warm blanket or a nice warm water bottle or something, or have a warm shower and just notice how I go from cold to warm. And so it's just really super helpful. So you've got to interrupt the thought pattern. That doesn't mean you're ignoring what happened. It gives you breathing space. It gives you permission to have a break from it rather than going on loop, because that loop in your head. So if your pain's at a 7 out of 10 and you're looping, it will go to 8, then 9, then 10, because you're feeding your brain painful data over and over and over again. And your brain is going, wow, this is getting worse. This is getting worse. This is getting worse. Whereas if you pause it and you're at an 8 out of 10 and you go, stop, 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 breathe, come back to yourself, notice in your body, get back into your body, it'll go from an 8 to a 7, from a 7 to a 6, from a 6 to a 5. And so it's just really important to do those strategies to bring yourself back down again. And yes, it may come up again for you when you go, oh, here we go again. Okay, and bring yourself back. And it just takes a lot of practice. So you've got to work at stopping the story playing on the big screen. Sarah, I'm just letting the tears. I've been just letting the tears omelette as they will always. Been very stressed with all sorts of hits. Still trying to figure out how to learn to accept my inability for my mum to love and show me love, and that can be painful. We need to accept where people are at, and that's hard. When we love people and we want them to love us in a specific way, and they don't have the capacity, then we can look at, okay, where else might I get that love from? Where else might I get that love? If this person can't give it to me, is there a way for me to get this love from somewhere else? Really important. You're very, very welcome, Rosie. Very, very welcome. Have to take care of her when she's physically can't. How do I do that without the resentment in her? And I think that's really important, Sarah. So you don't have to, you're choosing to. So you're saying you have to, but you don't have to. You could easily say, I'm not going to take care of her, but you're choosing to take care of her. And when we notice that and we go, you know what, I don't have to do this. I love her, in spite of whether she loves me or not, in spite of whether she loves me in the way that I want her to or not. Maybe she loves me the best she can. Maybe she doesn't know what love really is. Maybe she never got taught how to do that. And so she can't give what she doesn't have. But I do love her. And that's why I show up. I don't show up because I have to, because you could choose not to. You choose to. And so because you choose to do this, right, you can sit down and say, I choose to do this because I do love her. And this is my way of showing her I love her. And yeah, I'm sad she can't reciprocate with me, but I'm still choosing to do it because you don't have to, lovely. You don't have to. You could say, I'm not doing it. Plenty of kids say they won't take care of their parents, plenty of them. And you're saying, I will, in spite of the fact that she is not there for you in the way that you would like her to be. And that says a lot about who you are, sweetheart. That says a lot about who you are. You are a kind, compassionate, loving person. Resentment is, for me, it's about expectation. I have an expectation if I love you, you'll love me back. And if I love you and you don't love me back, then that expectation turns to resentment. So it's just really important to go in with realistic expectations. I am loving her because I choose to love her. I'm loving her and being here for her because that means a lot to me. I do not expect anything back from her because I've learned that she does not have the capacity to give me what I need. And that makes me sad, but I'm a realist and I understand that she can't give me what I desperately want from her. But I still choose to give her the care that I want to give her. That's just my choice. And I think that really hurts, you know what I mean? That really helps, my darling. I think that really helps. And now I'm laughing, not omelette. Got a lot of typos, don't you? Typos that typos that get us. I get that. When you do. I don't know how young people do this with their phones with their big fat digits. I don't know how they hit all the letters because I get spell check problems all the time. Words that I'm thinking, why is it written that? That's not even close to what I'm trying to write. So yeah, I don't know how young people do it with their big digits. I don't. But yes, omelette equals come. Apparently my phone autocorrect wanted me to be able to eat. Which is not a bad thing, right? It's not a bad thing to want to eat at all, actually, at all. So, my darlings, if you've got any questions or comments, pop them into the chat. I'm going to head off in a bit. Like I said, I'm hoping we might get some rain. I'm really hoping we're going to get some rain. I'm checking the weather as we speak because we have not had rain for such a long time. And I live in a hot, dry country. And my garden, which is something that brings me enormous joy, enormous joy, everything is growing in the garden at the present time. Like just everything is growing in the garden. No, it's going to be windy today, not wet. That makes me sad, doesn't it? Maybe rain tomorrow. And Rosie, just to let you know, like I don't look at better weeks or worse weeks. I just look at weeks, and I think in the present moment, I try and bring myself back, right? Come back to where I'm at. It can be like this: up, down, up, sustained up, down, sustained down, and life is like that. And I think for all of us, when we can lean into that, no, this is just life. This is the way life is. There are ups and downs. Sometimes there are persistent, consistent lows. This year has been a bit like that. Last year was a bit like that. And that's okay. That is okay. That is the way it is sometimes. But I remind myself of all the joyful things, like yesterday when I went into the garden and some of my beautiful yellow pumpkins, pumpkin squashes, I had male and female flowers, so I could pollinate them by hand. And I thought, that'll bring me some squash. That'll be good. I had a cucumber that I managed to pull off the vine the other day, and we ate it. It was delicious, and I enjoyed that. I've been pulling in lots of herbs. My chamomile plant is losing its mind, so I have tons and tons and tons of chamomile. First time I've grown it, and the smell is delicious. It's all drying in my little I have a little drying rack that I bought online just so that I can keep the bugs off it and let it dry naturally. I harvest some mint and I put that in there to make teas out of. What else have I harvested? I've harvested a lot this week. I've got some broad beans that I pulled out, some carrots that I pulled out. The tomatoes are coming back, so all my tomatoes are getting ready. I had tomatoes all through winter, which was so much fun. And then my tomatoes are starting to grow again for the summer season. I am trying to get a lot of aromas so that I can can them all up and get them onto my kitchen shelf. I've been learning lots of new skills in the garden and at home. I put 2 archways in my garden, which I've never had archways before, so I'm really a bit tickled with those. I quite like the way they look, and I've got some of the creeping vines going up. those. So yeah, the garden's exciting. And of course, it's time for the flowers. You will notice the carnations, which I grew from seed. My daughter bought those for me for Christmas. She bought me a calendar with every single day had a seed packet on it, which was just the best thing ever. I hope she does it for me again this year if she's listening. She sometimes comes and listens. So I grew those from scratch, from little seeds, and I just adore them. But flowers are in. So my ranunculus had a very short season because the weather, so it got really hot really quick, so my ranunculus did not enjoy that. But I now have all the hardy plants in. So I have some sunflowers in the garden, and a couple of them have put their little heads on. They're very small ones this year. I'm not sure why, but they're getting multiple heads, which is so exciting. In addition to that, I've got the zinnias are in, the dahlias are in. What else am I planting? Zinnias, dahlias, sunflowers. I think that's mostly my summer crops. Oh, and cosmos, of course. So those are all starting to just get blooms, which is just divine. I love, 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 love those flowers. And my intention is to make some bouquets and to sell them to my local community, along with some extra veg and some of my seedlings. So that's going to be fun. That's a fun activity for me to do. So the garden is a joyful place for me. It is a place that brings so much joy. I'm learning to make homemade ice blocks. I use some of my strawberry lemonade mix with some yogurt and some coconut cream and coconut water, and they're pretty good. They have quite a nice little taste and texture to them. I'm going to test out trying to make, my partner likes the chocolate, the ice cream, vanilla ice cream with a chocolate coating on it. So I'm going to attempt to make a custard, to make an ice cream center, not like a proper custard, but a custard ice cream, and then coat them in chocolate and see if I can mimic that in a much more healthy way, using much more healthy ingredients and not too many of the nasties. So that's something on my planning list. And of course, I did a lot of, the weekend, I did a lot of onions, did up a lot of onions for my fridge, caramelized onions, and roasted garlic because I pulled all the garlic out of my garden. So yeah, lots of fun things. So if anybody has any comments, anything they want to say, please do that now. And then I am going to head off. Like I said, no rain today, but I'm looking at my little weather forecast, and it looks like we have rain for most of the weekend and early next week, which would be absolutely a blessing, because I'd love some rain. And the temperatures we've had not too bad, which is really good. There's been some very hot temperature where my kids live. It has been up to nearly 40, which is ridiculous in spring. But we're having very comfortable sea breezes here, and 26 to 29 generally, which is really pleasant. All right. So I think that's it. Nobody else is saying anything. I got my new glasses yesterday. So because I lost my other lightweight glasses, I got myself these ones yesterday. What do you think, girls? Yeah or nay? They're very lightweight. So I like to wear lightweight glasses when I do a lot of computer work, because I only wear them when I'm reading. And the lightweight glasses are such a relief on my face. These heavier ones I really enjoy for wearing when I'm videoing. And I have another pair of dark red ones. But these are very easy on the bridge of my nose. They don't hurt as much. They're really, really lightweight. I really like them. So they're a very thin frame, and they're just really super comfy. So yeah, comfort is where it's all at for me, ladies. That's why I have two pairs of Crocs. I have my Crocs for going out and my Crocs in my garden. All right, my darlings, take the best care of yourself. Do look after yourself. If you have any comments after this live, please pop them in the comments for me. I always check. And of course, YouTube loves it when you comment, like, and share my stuff. There is a little button now where you can hype my stuff. Hyping my stuff is a really good thing. So if you see the little hype button, do press it on anything that I do. It helps out my channel enormously. If you see a video of mine, please share it. It really helps my channel an enormous amount. Of course, do hit the notification bell, then you will know when I am coming up next. You never miss a thing. And if you're wanting more advice and help, the playlists are really the place to go. They have all of that in there, my store. And of course, all the freebies that are on my site, you are welcome to grab a hold of. On that note, I am going to go off and do some work, because that's what I do after I finish doing my YouTube live chats, and get prepared for the next month, which is hurtling towards us, November, which is a big planning month for me. I do all my yearly planning in November around what I'm going to be doing with my work. So that is what I'm heading towards, and I'm trying to get myself organized towards that. Take the best care of yourself. Like, real, be gentle with yourself, be kind to yourself, look after yourself. And I will see you all next week here on the channel. Take care, my loves. Until next time. Bye.